I'm the straight man, Jackie. I was in a play called Fools when I was in high school, which like a teacher goes into a town that's been riddled with this disease in which everybody is an idiot. Straight
Is it called America?
I was going to say, is it called Literally Right Here, Right Now?
That's serious. All right, this is Morning Show. I'm Jeff Cook. I'm with Kristin Mesgy, Jackie Contessa, and the TJ Wilson. Welcome.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, on the docket for a while. What you got? Tell me about your drink.
Ooh.
Yeah, like you went somewhere.
I had breakfast with an old friend this morning, and we sat across from one another, a 2 and a 3, and started pitching unsolicited business and life and relationship advice to one another. It was wonderful. And I got a smoothie, tahini, banana, dates, milk. Very good.
TJ may have a sick kid.
She's at school, so if she's sick, she's their problem.
Infecting everyone else.
That's what school's for, right?
It's just one big petri dish.
Speaking of that, yesterday at the high school, a water main up the road got busted by a contractor, and the high school and the middle school had to be evacuated because they had no water, and apparently the toilet situation was getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened. And I was like, you can't plan for that kind of crap in your day.
Heyo.
No pun intended.
I know. I was surprised that many teenagers go number 2 at school. I was like, that's shocking to me.
So many more people than I thought are just not poop shy.
It's just
Some people just can be in and out like a business meeting.
Freud talks about this.
Yeah.
It's a big
if you
category
poop,
for
it's
the
because
Freud.
you think your mom's hot.
It's not far from that.
Plus, there's cocaine in there somewhere.
Oh, gosh.
Well, speaking about psychology, we're talking about
Segue.
centers.
Nice segue.
Yeah, I'm very
Today,
excited.
I wanted to talk about this for a while. Each of us have a primary center, a repressed center, and do business with the other center or centers. I suppose there's lots of ways these combinations work. In good news, there's 4 of us with a lot of variety, and we're going to talk about our relationship with each of our centers. And since we're talking about physical
Let's get
experiences, we can start with the body. How about that? When you think about the body center, I would love each of us to kind of have a take, because we have a head type, a heart type, and 2 body types. When you think about the body center, what comes to your mind?
Okay, I want to ask Jackie a question that's going to completely throw her off, but is directly related to this. Off mic, you were mentioning that when shoulders are bared, somehow people feel that is permission for them to touch your arms and look at your tattoos. Mm-hmm. Tell me about why that's wrong.
Okay. There are times that I tend to not mind, right? And a lot of times people will be like, oh, that's a gut feeling. Sometimes I care, sometimes I don't, or whatever. And I use that word as a throwaway. Most of the time, there's something about it that makes me generally feel uncomfortable. There's less cognitive, like, of course, like when I walk away and then I'm like, did I make the right decision? Because I was mean. Because I was telling them off camera, telling everyone off camera. It's like the only time I actually feel mean. But when I try to justify it, I'm like, it's because most people don't wash their hands when they touch their butt crack, right? Or like something like that. But in reality, I don't know why.
It's a perfect example.
And I can't stand 10 toes down and simply because that's my body. I I have a hard time connecting with why, but I don't like. I've come to realize, and I have to feel around in the dark for this, and I can't I don't like when somebody looks at something that is undeniably mine and for me and thinks that they just simply have the rights to it and grabs me. Like I'm nothing, like I'm a piece of throwaway garbage. I'm not a disposable fork. Don't touch me. Like, I think of like being in kindergarten and thinking of like rules of like, you touch it, you take it. When there's like a class birthday, if you touch it, you take. Don't touch me. Like I'm not yours. And so like that's like, and I that's that I got my first tattoo at 15.
Nice, lucky.
My mom didn't find out till 18. She wasn't neglectful. Don't worry. But like, I've had people touching me since I was 15.
Yeah.
And so over time, and just in the last year, that's how I still don't know about it. I still can't connect with the instinct behind it.
Yeah.
But
I think one of the things of the body center is boundaries.
Yep.
Just literally boundaries live in the body.
And particularly why I'm thinking about this and singling you out, Jackie, is because as a 2, one would think that moment of connection is worthwhile.
If I was talking to somebody at ShopRite in the dairy cage and they were I don't know, unassuming, they were like, can I ask you a question about your tattoos? And we started talking about it. I would have no problem sticking my arm at them for them to take a look and asking a question. I would love to connect. Why do you think that's something that is mine? No, it's not about what's mine, because I'd rather give you something that's mine and just walk away. But it's the only thing that I know is me. It's like the only thing that I know is me. Don't touch it. Like, and that's something that I, like, if I don't know where I end and where other people begin, like, I'm at least aware of my shoulders. Like, I don't know. Don't touch me. Don't touch it. It's mine. Like, and I still can't verbalize it. But it's still not just is.
Yep.
So,
on the flip side, I would love to ask you about this. If I were to say who's the most physically affectionate of the around the circle folks, you would absolutely come to mind, and it wouldn't be close.
Oh my God, I want us to all hug so bad.
Exactly, right?
Constantly.
I love that.
So there's
like a big pile
there's
of
both
bodies
in there, yeah.
would please you, yeah. But that's her choice.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's not so much just the body; it is something about the body. It's as was said. I mean, boundaries. You ask permission also, extend consistently on these fronts. We should.
Yeah, you use your
I say,
frustration.
can we
keep it
please
in,
have a
and you're
group
like,
kiss?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
And we all
not
go,
just grabbing people and kissing them.
Right.
At least not while I was around.
Yeah.
Well, and even like the kiss, you do say, "Can we have a group kiss?" But also, you ask permission for hugs. Like, is it okay if I hug you? Are you a hugger?
I didn't know that I'd do that.
You
That's not
automatically do that, which I would contribute to maybe a generational thing.
Maybe.
Because I know other 2s or 2 adjacent, or even just other people that are not at all interested in your perspective on whether or not they're going to hug you.
This body boundary with tattoos might also be generation adjacent, because at the end of the day, I got no qualms if someone goes, "Hey, can I give you some attention about your tattoos?" I'm like, yes. So I do think it's also generational, like, get your claws off my body. That's kind of weird for you to just think that you can touch me or touch my children if you're a parent, right? That is also, I think, generational. So that's a good point. But some people probably don't feel that way. Some people are like, hell yeah.
And gendered maybe too. I think that as women, we grow up with like, please don't touch me.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say that is probably as automatic as it has gotten for something instinctual, boundaries, don't touch my butt. Like, that's probably as automatic as it's gotten. Like, one of the things that I noted is that, like, on an everyday basis, like, I have to elect my body, my gut as my secondary center. And I feel like I have to elect it. Like, I have to do some work around electing it for a regular workout routine. I have to reach in there for what is going on and make sure I'm elevating my thinking as well. Like, I have to elect it. And if I don't, it's sort of just like there. My body is just there. My gut instincts is just there. Anger's hard for me. Because I get it cognitively.
Yeah. And it serves the whims of your primary center.
Anger's hard for you to experience or to be near? Like what?
No. Thank you for allowing me to clarify, because I have no issue with, like, my husband's anger. I'm like, oh my God, no, I have no issue with that. If something is making you angry, you be angry. Like, I've learned a lot from eights in that way. And like, for me, anger there's just like this like 12-year-old in me that's like, everything's the end. Anger, like anger is the end of and
anger is conflict.
Yeah, and not like I'm not afraid of going back and forth with somebody, or so it's hard to, as far as it threatens a connection or something I really love, someone I really love, like I don't, like that can be hard, but even like going on that momentum can also, like I have to elect it. It's active work, and I don't often, feeling it's just easier. So that's how I am with both my gut and my body. Like those things have to really be elected, but they're not unavailable. They're a lot closer than I think that they are, you know?
Had a couple of reflections, and I would love to elevate some of the ideas more around the body, but like your experience of your body is real similar to my experience of my heart, and I associate that with your stress move. That there's a restorative element that I'm hearing in terms of you wanting to hug folks physically that may actually be reparative. That might be like a high side of your physicality, but there's also the anger is a hard emotion for me. The sadness, shame is a hard emotion for me. I associate that with my stress move, and that's what I'm hearing there.
I will say, like when I talk to clients, especially who are in the gut center, and I ask them, I'm like, where in your body? And they like literally point to, like, let's say the female, like
Sure.
the womb area, right? They point there. For me, when I feel it, what I'd call a gut instinct, I literally I feel it in my heart muscle, and it feels like, it always sounds sort of like like it is speaking to me, not this thing telling me or giving me an insight as to what to do. It's not an all-knowing thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's always talking to me like as a person, and it's always like, it's like in my heart muscle, and I'm like, why do we feel it in different places? So like it's interesting because
does it tell you to do something?
no, not always. Like not always. I just like my I just know is felt up here. Like you know what I mean? And it's not always, but it's felt up here. But it speaks to me about who I
So
am with the other
identity
person.
knowing as opposed to doing knowing, maybe.
Yeah, I think, and I think doing knowing has to be, it's not like an automatic, it's not where I automatically know. I have to reach around in my bag of tricks for that. Yeah.
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 That's cool. But like who I am would be up here, I would
Yeah.
think. If we're yeah. Okay, that's cool.
TJ, you're a body type. What's your thoughts on bodies?
Who needs them? So yeah, that is, I think, an important preface is that I am a body type with a chronic pain disease. So I have a asterisk with my all of my body type stuff, but there is
Also, your repressed center.
yes. So as a 9, it's my primary center. I take in everything, all of the information is coming to me through my body, and I don't engage from that place. I shift, and the activation of my body is unproductive. So I love the word ineffable because it's so perfect here. There's an ineffable sense of knowing that has to do with our existence in reality. That, like you were just talking about, like the gut sense or the like the knowing who you are kind of stuff, like knowing a decision. There is something about us existing in these bodies, and I am highly aware of that sense of knowing without being able to give any more information than that. So, like it is an inexpressible knowledge of being in the real world. And so like I can sometimes describe it as an energy. Like I can walk into a space and feel an energy about how that space is. I can feel energy off of other people, and like I feel like I have a pretty good intuitive sense of whether or not someone is lying to me and whether or not a person is trustworthy. And they're, for the most part, obviously very not perfect, but there's a real sense of knowing that comes from having the body as a primary center. And it's so closely tied to how we interact with the physical world and all of that.
I think you're making an incredible point here that even if we have physical limitations, it's still a gut instinct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the body center is rooted in the gut, not in our limbs.
Right.
And I think that is something beautiful, right? Where whether somebody is rolled, wheeled, crawls, or runs into a room, if they, let's say, are a type 9, that gut instinct is still there. And I did want to ask you, and you can choose to not respond because I know I'm asking you on the fly here, but do you feel that there are impacts to gut knowing when there are physical limitations, like if you have a bad day, if you're flaring up, right?
Absolutely, because the mixed messages make the information untrustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
can you say more?
And a lifetime of being able to do something that I'm now no longer able to do, it shifts my perspective on my identity.
Yeah.
And that is also, like, I have a chronic pain disease, but also all of our bodies are deteriorating over time. So this is happening to all of us, and thinking about watching older generations go through some of these experiences of not being able to do something they used to be able to do is like if you don't understand that gut center, then watching a lot of this is going to be a lot harder to have compassion for people who get mad about the fact that they can't hear anymore, or
right.
that they can't drive anymore, or like all of these things. Like there's so much that comes from that, and it's not just about the doing, it's about the sense of who you are in the physical form that you exist in.
Autonomy is what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Autonomy, boundaries, control, all that.
Kristin,
Hi.
what you think about the body? When you come, is there anything that we're missing in terms of the ideas here? Anything you connect with and don't connect with?
No, it's all good. I'm just thinking of, like, as a 6, I personally have very strong connection to my body center in terms of who I am, what I think, my boundaries, etc. It gets overridden all of the time by I would say, my heart and head. So there's a real disconnect with who I know I am, my intuitive impulses, and what I should do and not put at risk, and what rules I should follow. So it's a very churny relationship. The other thing I'm thinking of is when this center, and I'm thinking of these as intelligence centers. So what is there to know from my gut? I think I experience a lot of grief because I don't let myself be what I know a lot of times because of what I just was describing. So yeah, it's kind of, I would say it's a conflicted relationship, but I have a lot of trust in it. And as I try to express it, I always think in terms of when we're trying to work a new muscle, it kind of comes out like a child, right? So if I'm trying to be more expressive, but I don't do that well, then I'm going to like overdo it. Kind of like, a little kid learning a new skill. So I feel that a lot in myself as I'm trying to live more from my gut. It's like, it feels messy, and then I get in my head about it. Those are my additional thoughts.
I would love to talk about grief and the body. Is the body associated with grief in your all's experience?
I think
if you were to
both.
name where the
I think
center
secondarily,
is?
yes. I think it is experienced as physical in a lot of its manifestations, but it does start in the heart. That's my opinion. I have no basis on it. I do know that there is science behind it being felt in the body, even as a physical pain,
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a result of the other, but
a lot of times, kind of what TJ was saying, it's the identity shift often that causes grief, right? It's what we thought, who we thought we were, what we thought we knew, what we thought something was, all these things that live here, kind of confronting they aren't that, and then having to.
When your head and your heart override your gut, is this something that takes some time, or is it very automatic?
Oh, it's instant.
Okay.
Because it's not my most utilized center in any way.
I mean, and kind of like a child, like you let them have a certain amount of autonomy until you don't let them have a certain amount of autonomy.
Exactly.
Like they have autonomy, but their hand is never on the wheel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I think, out of balance, this intelligence center, there's a lot of stops and starts. I also am curious to all your thoughts about anger, right? Because you've got the body center and anger. And I just, it's a little confusing to me because, you know, we're going to talk about obviously our feelings. Anger is a feeling, but yet I think anger is connected to boundaries. Anger is connected to limits, which is so I just think it's interesting that certain emotions get, and what do y'all think about that? Because that feels true to me, that anger is a body thing.
I also feel like some thoughts are filed under the heart center and some actions are filed under, like I do think that that's a lot of how the centers cross. You know, I think there are core thoughts, feelings, and actions for the heart, the head, and the gut. So I do think that that's true for across the board.
The other thing I notice is, Jeff.
Can I build on your question?
Yeah.
Or, well, go ahead. But I would love to answer your question.
Well, I think it's related. So maybe this will even help build. It's like, I want to do what I want to do, but I think I need external permission to do it. So there's a lot of like anger that kind of is like a temper tantrum that's going on in here, right? It's like, I'm working so hard. I'm doing so much. So have I earned to just do what I want? And it's like, well, of course not, because, you know, it's just there's a lot of anger that lives in this like, ugh. Anyway, go ahead, Jeff.
Some of the language that really resonates with me for my type, for ones, is that I'm internally boundaried. That's why my anger goes inward. And it's a way that I process a lot of the world and my own emotions. I feel like I don't ever resonate with the idea of the gut. My full body I'm very aware of my full body. And I'm very aware of what might be like just primal urges. I've talked about violence in the past, sexual desire in the past. I'm just escaping those.
Survival.
Primal. I'm not interested in survival. I'm a risk.
Well, but I mean like food.
Not interested in acquiring assets or like food in terms of like hunger, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you eat to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of people in the world who eat because their relationship to food is different than survival.
Yeah. I've started to notice the complexities of the emotions that I experience, how often I convert them into internally boundaried anger because I can control it. Because if I'm experiencing emotion, I can push it into myself, and then it's mine, and then I can do business with it through fury, and I can
like control it,
move it into spaces that are controllable. So the common word from my friends on this podcast and on the channel is that I need to do more business with my emotional life in a feeling way. And that is giving up that element of the body.
Cosign.
My ability to control the range of emotions that I may feel, all of a sudden it gets very uncomfortable for me. And so that's, I suppose, when I think about anger, for me, that's how it goes. It can get expressed outwardly. I'm angry at the fact that this thing out in the world is unjust and needs repaired. but it starts with me, as I've kind of said before, and that's a helpful way.
I'm fascinated by the discussion about the anger as a motivator, anger is an action feeling. Grief isn't. And we talk about this specifically with 8s, but I think it's true for everyone that like the experience of anger can be the type of thing. We experience anger and it usually moves us to do something. And oftentimes I think unconsciously for all of us to some degree, there's a level of experiencing certain emotions, perhaps all of them, as anger first, because then you can do something about it. Mm-hmm. And like we said, control. There's an ability to move with anger that a lot of other emotions, particularly the more negative ones, you have to sit in it to do any business with it. And anger says, okay, I'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah, it's immediate on that front.
And there's
isn't necessarily what it's doing.
The relationship to that body center, the doing kind of thing seems really apparent and fascinating to me.
I will say that I can tell the difference between primary anger, which is like a boundaries thing, and what I would call secondary anger, which lives literally higher in my chest and it covers fear. Like I am very clear on those very different experiences of anger.
Yeah.
Because I do think there is primary anger, and I think it's like a very important emotion that is very specifically around boundaries and autonomy.
Let's just sit on the body for this episode. I would love to push deeper into that, Kristin, in terms of the 6's experience of their body and what comes to your mind first.
Well, generally, there's 2 categories in this regard. There are 6s who can tolerate and like their anger because it feels safe. So these are 6s who they don't know fear. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not afraid. But
anger is just a protective bubble.
Anger's just a protective bubble. Anger and cynicism, I would say, they go together here. And they're
like a distancing tool between them, and is it the case, that like it distances them from fear the same way anxiety might distance like other 6s from fear?
Maybe. Let me finish my maybe. Their own personal weakness and fear is projected out. So these are 6s who, we're just fighting people all day long. So it's this like,
I don't know anyone like that.
Anywho, there's a real comfort in fear, but I would say it's this fear up here, anger covering fear, as opposed to being connected to and available to know when anger hits and it's a boundary. That's just very, very different. And then there are 6s who are terrified of their own anger and other people's anger. So their own aggression is what gets projected out. So Jackie, this would be where I think it's the more classically phobic presentation, where they're like, no anger here, I can't take anger. And so, yeah, they're just much more awareness of fear. And no awareness of anger. But of course, the anger's there. And that can be very confusing for themselves and for other people, because they will be expressing anger, but it's a blind spot because it's been projected out. Whereas for me, my own weakness and like humanity and limits, like that's the stuff and like how scared I actually am. Super fun work to do. I would much rather, I think back to like 20 something Kristin who had no fear, and like I miss her. I mean, it was chaotic and a disaster, but man, she felt a lot sturdier in her life.
But was she?
God. No, I am quite a bit sturdier now, genuinely, but it's to contact the fear has been not a good time.
I I like that we're starting in what appears to me to be kind of the negative side of the body. We'll pivot to the positives for physicality here on the backside. TJ, anything else to say about your own relationship with anger? Which you talked about the relationship with your body, but let's talk about that.
I think nines are a great example of this, and I'll stand as the poster child for it. The taking, like, being primary but also repressed with that center, with that emotion, like, it means that, like, we're afraid of anger. We have perhaps experienced anger in a way that says all anger leads to conflict, and that includes mine and that includes yours, and we don't develop a good relationship with anger. So over the course of my life, like, I saw my dad get angry and be like, have a really, really unhealthy relationship to his anger. And I made a childhood vow that I would never be like that, which basically guaranteed that I would be exactly like that. And yeah, who knows if that's like a childhood vow thing or if it's just the fact that both my dad and I are nines. Yeah. So it's
So he was an outwardly angry 9. That's what I hear you saying.
He burst. He threw chairs across the room. But the anger was not at all apparent except for those bursts. And that's true for me as well. It's I accept that because of that, I became hyper aware of the anger and just worked really, really hard to not ever let it become real. I became so aware of anger that I don't have a healthy perspective on what is good anger and bad anger. That thing that you described, where it's like primal anger in the body and secondary anger, like, those are the same thing to me, because I don't have a balance in how I experience anger in my body. That my body is unbalanced, my centers are unbalanced, and my relationship to anger is unbalanced because of it. And I think that's many, many, many nines go to sleep to their anger. I sleep one eye open to my anger. And I think it's like being centered in that body, like that anger is a body emotion. Nines have this weird backwards relationship to their anger because we have a weird backwards relationship to our bodies.
Well, and this idea, I don't matter here, that's an anger, that's a body center issue.
Yep.
That is a question that lives in the body.
And to assert myself would be counterintuitive to the message that my presence matters. Therefore, I just do away with my anger.
Because if that came with, as it would, I matter comes with a measure of anger. Without trust, you can do that well. It's like, well, I'll just much easier to not.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this in a few days in a different podcast, but I'm real interested in the idea that 3, 6s, and 9s detach from their center, that's actually what's taking place in their repression, because they are attachment types and they have a relationship with their center. And just as they detach from relationships that aren't giving them what they want, they likewise detach from their center when it's not giving them what they want. I feel like that is a different way of characterizing falling asleep to your anger, because it's so much easier for the 9 to just slip into their head, which is a space you can control and is comfortable, and there's no chaos outside of.
And you can take out the anger and look at it and say, what is this anger actually about? Which is the conversation I'm always having with anger, and I'm often having it with other people about their own anger.
It's
like, your anger isn't real. What's the anger actually about? And sometimes the anger is real.
No, this is a big thing for me right now with my sadness. I'm experiencing a lot of sadness recently. I talked to Jackie and Kristin both about this, but a quick way for me to not be sad anymore is to analyze it. And what happens is I move out of one center and I embrace the power and authority of a different center.
Yeah.
And then it becomes an object of deconstruction. What's going on here? Well, let me think about this.
Yeah.
That's
Which
what I see.
feels correct and mature, and it just isn't always.
Right.
Sometimes it's avoidance.
And sometimes it is avoidance. That's a good point. And I think you're right to say does your presence matter is a worthy thing to pitch here. Let's talk about 8s for a second in their relationship with anger, because it's going to be I think it's the most visible. So I have a 8 child. I've only seen them unleash their anger once. They're 21. I saw my mom, who's a 9, kick holes in the wall. I feel like my child has a much better relationship with their anger because it's constant. And this is what I always hear with TJ's language is it's repressed. And so when it comes out, it's spastic and it's uncontrollable. Whereas 8s are aware of their anger, can direct their anger, can rise up to that spot where they know this is about where I want you to feel me. And then I'm going to I'm going to control my space in the way I want to control my space. But it's not spastic. It's not uninformed. It's directed.
They're not fighting their anger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 9s are always
Yeah,
fighting
there
our
you
anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so are 1s.
In a different way. That's worth saying. But like as I was saying, I'm not I love being angry in order to control everything else. So I'm not necessarily, I think this is, I recognize this part of the literature. I always want to push back slightly on the idea that 1s are seeking to like quote unquote like repress their anger. It might be the case that I don't want you to know that I'm angry and I don't want our anger to affect our relationship. But damn it, I love raging at things that need raged at.
Let's say maintain their 1s are trying to maintain their anger. Like so long as it's appropriate.
Contain?
I will use
maybe?
it.
It's a steering wheel.
Yeah.
It's like I've said this in the past. Like I'm very aware of my physicality. I'm a 225-pound man. I'm 6'3". I can move big people if I want to, and that actually matters to me a little bit. I want to be able to impose my will in the world over myself, and if threatened, over others. I'm pushing back into kind of biological categories, and again, my sense of self kind of revolves around that in the way that I would imagine like some people want to feel beautiful or some people want to feel really intelligent. I want to be able to move people. And so those are your 3 centers.
Is that taking advantage of the privilege afforded to you? I mean, that's a very...
It's me feeling
culture loves
comfortable.
that.
I don't even care about privilege on this front. It's
Well,
absolutely
you
a
wouldn't
survival.
because
There,
it's convenient that you fit that mold for you.
I mean,
you know?
I do understand where you're going because I think what you're saying is higher level. We're part of a society. This is how the society
usually.
Mine is what I'm trying to express is absolutely primal.
Mm-hmm.
There are also 1s who primally understand that anger is not a thing that they can contain or channel as momentum because it is I'm going to male, female, if I'm speaking in the binary, I'm thinking of self-preservation as an instinct, right? Where unleashing that anger, making contact with it, and not turning it into something less threatening.
Yes.
Like, it's the doorway to all the other feelings, and all of the other feelings feel like a lack of control. So
For a 1.
for a self-preservation 1, as in this example.
Dude, I will tell you that
So
tracks for
what
my husband 100%.
So what I'll say is that there are 3 ways that the body types channel their anger. Yes. for type 1s, there are 3 ways that type 1s channel their channeled anger. And so what you are saying makes sense primally. It makes a lot of sense. But this is a both and situation, because it is what is this beholder doing? How do they relate to their anger instinctually, not just by type?
Yeah, like there is secondarily, I want to be able to move people, but secondarily, I don't want to move people. Like I don't like.
You want to be able to, but you don't want to do it.
Like I don't get in.
You want them to have moved themselves.
I don't get into fights regularly, ever.
Right.
In fact,
Not physical fights.
In fact, I pull back hard on that. But I do want to be able. I want to be a strong person in those spaces. There's like a primal, and then there's like a cognitive. And here's a ton of the right, wrong positioning in the world for me ends up emerging from this space. I am very aware all the time of how dynamic and intense my those primal biological urges can be, and the only way to temper them, or at least the first step towards tempering them, often is to get very black and white. And that's the oneness and right and wrongness just naturally then colors so much of who I am in the world, and it emerges from this space in my experience. That's not necessarily a good thing, bad thing. I'm just telling you what is.
Totally.
Going back to 8 really
Please.
quick, if there's a distinction, I think what helps us is the distinction between what we think is anger, which we'll classify as rage, right? This like insanely explosive expression that, like, you know, the thing that 9s swear to God they're not gonna be and not gonna do, and then they keep it so tight that when it comes out sideways, it's like rage, right?
Yep.
The reason we don't see that with 8s, except but a few times, is because in truth it's not really necessary, because they're very much in touch with that energy. Like, and it's, yeah, they were upset. Yeah, they were offended. None of that matters. They didn't make contact with it. They made contact with the thing that was going to give them the juice to get it out of the body, because it's like vomit. It's not going to do me any good in here. Get it out. Keep it moving. And barrel through and do what we have to do. And so I think it's interesting to, like, we will see rage moments in 8s, and we, for some reason, categorize them by their rage moments. But 8s, 9s, and 1s all have rage moments. 9s because of this, 8s because of that, 1s because of this. So I think that there's a different relation, like what the different 1 subtypes will relate to anger differently. 8s will relate to anger as energy and essence of sorts. And I'm not going to say essence as a personality word here, because we'll fight to the death. But it just is.
I've heard multiple 8s at this point say their intensity is not anger. And I just feel like that is a miss. But I feel like that's a personal internal miss on their part. Because what you're saying,
no, we can't.
What we're
we have
saying
to
is they're in
change how
touch
we
with their
interpret.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
What you're saying is they're in touch with their anger. It's like always coming, and it's like, but they're not really angry. It's like, well, they are, or they aren't, and they're calling it's just intensity all the time. And I'm like, it's anger,
but
and they're
okay,
like, oh,
we it's anger, the feeling, the same way that even like on my best day, where who I am as a message comes from is from my shame, from my conviction, right? Like it is anger, yes, okay, but when I met an 8 recently where I could I felt nervous. And I wasn't nervous like, oh my God, I'm nervous. It was very instinctual. I could feel the intense, and I had to name it and label it as intensity, and not that this person was angry, because that is my perception, not what's happening. So is it coming from a place in this moment from anger? I don't know. That's neither here nor there. It is intensity, but like I am picking it up like it's something. So that's why I wanted to make that distinction between anger and rage, because when we see this explosion from either massive missteps or massive repression or massive redirection, and then just we couldn't take it anymore, like it makes sense. But anger in and of itself, like TJ saying, what's good anger, what's bad anger, and like the answer for nines is like, how do you relate to anger? I don't at all, right?
It's all bad.
Anger is right here, base level, like a base level thing, and we have to like, it is a neutral compass energy for 8, 9, and 1, and we have to get good at calling intensity and not how we're perceiving it.
I just think they're wrong about they're saying they're not angry when they're intense all of the time. I just think that's wrong.
Well, it's a relative.
Something intense all the time is not angry all the time.
It's probably a relative judgment of the feeling.
Well, right, but I'm talking about 8s accurately assessing themselves. I'm not even talking about like
In comparison.
But it sounds like you want them to metabolize how you are perceiving them, and that.
Well, it's just an interesting thing that they can all say like, "Oh, I'm just intense all of the time. I'm not anger." We all know anger is the primary emotion. Am I speaking crazy here?
No,
is this resonant for anyone else?
I would love to float something and get your response, because when I hear intensity, it's not just about what's coming out of them. It's what they want to come into them, because 2s, 5s, and 8s are all throwing stuff in order to get a radar ping back. And so the 8 is throwing when they want information. And intensity of experience allows them to establish whether they're vulnerable. So when they come forward, throwing, what is actually taking place is assessment. And that's where the intensity comes into play, in my view, because it allows them to take in the world through their intuitive center. It allows them to understand whether they're vulnerable. It allows them to punch any threats that might be nearby. And living in that zone, they're bats on that front. Living in that zone of reading the radar pings, super important to them feeling comfortable in the world. And that's how the anger comes across to the rest of us. Now, Kristin, you don't navigate that way. And that's why it feels so kind of out of whack, yeah? It's like, why are you pushing into this motion?
I'm literally just talking about the self-assessment of 8s that I hear. That's all I'm talking about.
But then, so if I understand it correctly, then my self-assessment should be that I'm constantly full of shame.
All I know is kinda like an awareness of it. Like I'm aware of my navigation of fear all of the time.
Sure.
Like it's
but
top
then to say
mind.
then we do have, then that's fine, and I think that that's fair, because I've never met an 8 that's like not able to be like, oh yeah, right there about their anger. Oh yeah, it's right here. So they are aware of it, but I think it's not. An 8 has no fucking problem telling you whether or not they are angry. So if I'm like, yeah, if you're not angry, you're not angry. Like that.
I'm just questioning 8 self-assessment. That's all I'm saying. Because I've just talked to many, and they're just like, I'm just intense, and I just throw it out, and then I kind of don't even notice if it has an impact on someone or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, doesn't seem. They're not great at self-assessment. I mean, that's part of the deal.
Also they're primary in that space, in this particular person or people. Their primary is not feeling vulnerable, and that's what's coming out in the language there of your feelings matter, but they are secondary, and they will probably always be secondary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we're directly talking about levels of health as well. And even more than that, I think that we're getting onto one of my personal theories, which is that 4s, 6s, and 8s don't reject their underlying feeling in the same way that all the rest of us do. And by that I mean, like, 4s, all of the 4s I have spoken to are like, why would I run from shame? Shame is part of what made me. Like, this isn't a thing that I need to correct. 6s, like, fear is what keeps us alive. Why wouldn't you want fear? And 8s, like, their sense of their anger it's embedded in them in a way that's like telling them not to be angry is like telling them not to breathe. Like they're not paying attention to it all the time necessarily, And when they are, it's like, yeah, that's a thing that I'm doing, and that's okay. Like that's how I live. I think that intensity comes from that anger. To call their intensity anger would be to draw attention to it in a way, because most 8s have been told that they're too intense. But hearing that they're too angry is like, no, that's insane, because they're not too angry. The anger is the undergirding, like it's the structure upon which their intensity is built. And that they don't care about that, because it's the structure on which their entire being is built. Like it's just not a thing that they feel needs to be corrected. Their intensity, they've been told, needs to be corrected for their entire lives, directly and indirectly.
Just like 6s are told, well, just don't worry about that.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll notice with 4s, 6s, and 8s, all of them are the ones who are criticized for being too much. And that's part of this. The lineup is this is their coping style. So 4s, 6s, and 8s, all when solving problems, shut down thinking, push their emotions all in with action. And that's how they solve problems. Very common, very understandable. And that's why they can come across as too much, especially the people that love them a lot, because they see them in problem solving mode.
So I understand, because that's how it's clicking for me. 4, 6, and 8 reject the idea that you have to run from, I guess, the momentum or energy of your core. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a problem that needs to be addressed.
No, it's a problem solving tool.
Mm-hmm.
The fear is a tool for solving the problem. The shame is a tool for solving the problem. The anger is the tool for solving the problem. Is what I would,
if you're
at some levels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because and
that's really good.
I see the skepticism.
My mind.
Are you skeptical of that, Kristin?
No, I'm like, this is fascinating. It's just, I'm really taking it in. It's super interesting.
Bang. Chapter 8 in our book, by the way.
I want not fear for mine. I want anger. That seems
pushes into your security number.
fun.
That's why you want anger.
We know you want anger.
God, so bad.
Well, I would love to pitch.
But I don't want anyone to be upset by it. That's the trouble. Okay. And I care. That's the trouble.
My big take, 30,000 feet up, is on these fronts. We're taking in the world through each of our primary centers. For the body types, they're taking in the world primarily through their bodies. It produces that underlying feeling of anger. All of us have access to the centers and can take in the world through our centers. The anger, shame, and fear, as many of you know, I don't think these are negative or positive. They're tools, and they provide information, and sometimes they're necessary to get us in the right spots. We have been talking through anger, I think, in kind of a low side way for the most part. Not always, but for the most part in our discussion so far. But there is an absolute positive to the body center. And there's an absolute positive that can be named about what, if you are a holistic, healthy human being who's done work on understanding their centers and understanding how. So for me, understanding my body, how it works, I'm all about boundaries for sure. But there are places where I drop my boundaries and it allows me to connect a little bit more. In fact, this can be one of those places I'm commonly encouraged to get into, like more quote unquote like 7 space, and to be a little bit less boundaried. So a real clean, easy example of this, actually, I've been thinking about this a bunch recently. All of us went to a conference. I got to sit next to Jackie for part of it. Jackie and I have a good relationship. Friendly relationship, intimate relationship in terms of the conversation topics that we hit at times. And I would turn to her and gossip. And when I did, I would intentionally push into her shoulder with my shoulder, because I wanted her to feel my presence. That I'm not just saying here's a gossipy word, but I wanted her to feel some connection. Now, that wasn't asked for at a time, so sorry about that, because I realized to start out our conversation that
you manipulative jerk.
But I like if I actually give affection, I want people, like, I'm so sensitive about my body and interactions. Like, if I authentically give somebody a hug, it really matters to me. It may be real common for other people to give physical affection. It's very difficult for me to give physical affection, but getting into those spaces is how I interpret like a higher side engagement of my body in a way that creates other connections, especially in the heart center. But I'm floating that as just kind of an experience. I don't really have a conclusion. Y'all have thoughts on bodies on the high side?
I think that we have been talking about the high side to some degree. Boundaries, instinctual knowing. You know, I work with so if we think of people who cannot contact their own anger, but they want to get in touch with their instincts. I always say, no, you don't, because your instincts are in your body. And so are your boundaries. And so is your anger. So you actually have to make peace with things that might scare you, but that's where they live. Like me knowing what has crossed over my boundaries energetically, physically, whatever, is super important. But it can be read negatively to people for all the reasons we don't actually necessarily want other people to have boundaries.
I have a clarifying question for you on that. Because I suppose I continue to think that's much more survival, much more animalistic. Like those sort of boundaries are kind of primal. When I think of sixes in their bodies, what I think of is you are intentionally doing the work to get into your body in a very relaxing way. You're moving into that 9 space. And so like you know, I don't know what this looks like for you, but like, I don't know if you get athletic or if you like prefer like hot tubs or something like that. Like the physical experience that's enjoyable is more what I think of with sixes getting into their body, where it's like, I'm going to be relaxed in this time. You know what I mean there?
No, that's
I
not
was interviewing
a
a
thing.
six who got real sick on a boat. She was on a cruise. Couldn't get
That's what you
couldn't
get.
get past her sickness.
Seriously.
Stupid boat.
Goes back to her cabin, puts on a bath, has candles, gets into that space. That seems to me like she's intentionally trying to drive away from her thinking and her emotions regarding her family, and I'm just going to engage my physicality in a way that's enjoyable. That strikes me as a 9-ish kind of move for the 6. I suppose that's like
I'll
kinda
take
what
a
I got in
bath.
myself.
I don't know what.
That sounds like solving a problem.
Let's get
She was
into your
sick.
body on a high side. Yeah.
I don't understand the high side, low side. I don't think me being aware of my and all that. I think there is a lot of survival in the gut center. I think that actually is part of it.
Does it go beyond that though? That's more what I'm asking.
Well, so when I get into my body, okay, so like I work out a lot. That makes me feel really good. It makes me feel strong. That's happy for me. But when I get into my body to feel better, it's like I'm meditating. Like I'm leaving all of this and I'm getting present.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, there's another high side of the body center is really utilizing the presence and sense of myself separate from all of this churny, you know, and you can even see it in the way I'm moving my hands. It's like, this is churny. This can be very settled. So that's when I get into my body. That's what I'm doing outside of staying physical and all of that, which is, they're two totally different categories for me, even though they're both, one's physical doing and one's utilizing the presence and sturdiness of the body center.
I am curious because it sounds a little bit like that, like the meditation kind of aspect of getting into your body is more about bringing your head center into balance than it is about like utilizing the tools of the body center, but still in a secondary way. Whereas I see and would assume that like drawing on some of them, the like pulling from 9 in ways that are not specifically about elevating or bringing the head into balance has more to do with learning to trust your own body, learning to trust those instincts, and learning to navigate the body's experience in a way that isn't secondary.
I don't know
brings
how
it into the primary.
How could it not be secondary though for a 6? Like it just is second. It's never going to be the first.
Right.
The head must be managed in order to get into this space.
I would be
For me, I mean, maybe some other 6 can magically somehow not deal with their head, but would they be a 6? I don't know.
Do you ever have the experience of I'm in control and don't need to think about it? I have full agency in this moment, and it's just not on my mind.
No, that absolutely fucking not.
Okay.
What? I don't even know what you just said. That's
I know how this feels all the time.
yeah, I don't at all. I mean, that's kind of the point, I think, of being a 6 is like, what?
You ever get highway blind?
What does that mean?
Like you've driven halfway across town and you don't remember any of the driving?
Sure, totally.
Do you freak out when that happens?
No.
Okay.
Maybe. No, I don't think so. I mean, I just know I was thinking about something. Like, there's a lot of my day that I won't notice I'm doing
Sure.
because I'm
Some
thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling.
some athletes will talk about being in the flow. Have you heard of this concept?
Like flow state.
Flow state. Do you recognize that in your? Do you recognize ever having had that experience?
Oh, I don't know that I have.
Okay.
I mean, when I get into a really good work rhythm, sure, maybe.
Bing.
Oh, that's not true. I get into flow state in coaching.
Okay. Is that a physical
That is
experience
the-
or intuitive experience of you?
No, it's just like I'm not here.
Yeah.
It's an intuitive experience. That's what it is.
Boom.
It's when I was coaching long enough that I quit having to think about it. And I literally am just like so present and so available and stuff's just coming. That is, the only time I've really
It's a
experienced
good
it.
expression of that. It's not just physical. It's intuitive and it can be very relational, but it's still like you're in
Extremely
you're in the
relational.
moment. It's a present orientedness. That's actually what I wanted to drive toward.
Yes. Have I ever been in the present moment? Coaching is the primary one. Conversations with my husband, walks with friends. So it is very relational and just like things are just pinging and, there's not fear. It's just real in the moment being. And of course, meditation as well.
I'm an addict for going fast, specifically on skis. And when I'm doing this, I'm never, ever, ever thinking about how much damage I can do to my body, which is considerable. Like if I make a mistake, I'm in in the moment bliss and I can go upwards of 70 plus miles an hour down a hill and just love every second of it and not think I might really hurt myself at any second if I make a bad move here. That place ends up being what I associate with like being fully in my body center. Like I'm not emotional there and I'm not thinking about anything. I'm fully in a single center experiencing it at a higher side. And that's I suppose very similar to being in flow with conversation. I don't know that I'm just trying to name something. I don't have a conclusion again.
Well, I like this present. I like being present. I do think that's a body center thing. And what's that like for each of us? Yeah.
So
Jackie, yeah.
I'm here like I'm like, okay, does it take balance of all of the center? And I'm like, no, like that's his center, it's his body. And then I go, when I am having a hard time getting into being present, so to say, right? With my feelings, I'm like, I need to move my ass. Like, so I feel like my body as a 2 off in some ways. I choose to like do a long walk, but like moving my body in some way helps me set things right with my primary center, because more often than not, I'll just lean heavily on my heart and my feeling, and then all hell breaks loose, and then there's no productive thinking. So like it's funny because sometimes I'm like, when I'm like so deep in my feelings that like legitimately nothing makes sense. And I'm like, I need to move my ass. And when I start using my body to, I guess, get into my primary, there's something that feels like balance. I think that happens. And I don't know how to explain it because I don't feel like then I'm all over the place like I was. I'm like, it's like, of course you're a blubbering mess, but once you open the door for your friend and she comes in and you have a cup of tea and it's like you can get your thoughts in a line and you can, and it's almost, I don't know, it's almost like that's what that second body as the secondary center does for me. It opens up a little bit of regulation. I don't want to use such an emotional word, but like regulation in like my primary center where it doesn't feel like I'm just chasing my tail. In my feelings.
It's again about control. Regulation is a great word for control and agency. Autonomy.
Yes, I think that's a great way to say it. Is like I am like I need. There are times where I'm like I need to think about this, but more often than not, my first thought is like I need to get some control over what I'm feeling. Yeah, and I'm like I need to move my ass. So I think that's and that's instinctive. I'm not like, what is control? Where is it found? In the body. I should move. Like, I'm not doing a math problem. There's something in me that's like, oh, you're sad. Put on Taylor Swift and move your legs now.
The move your legs.
Good instinct.
This is where I think the secondary kind of comes in. And sometimes it's just how it works. Like when I hear put on Taylor Swift, that's actually engaging your heart and doing some introspective. I want to allow the emotions to hit my insides, but I'm going to do it while I'm moving. Because I have that experience as well. I'm very, like, I really relate to that.
You love Taylor.
I put on
You're
some
Swiftie.
Counting Crows, and I go for a walk, and I say to myself, I'm going to try to do what my friends say and feel all the feelings right now, and I'm going to hate it and tell them how terrible they are as human beings, and then I never want to speak to them again when I get on the podcast.
Permission granted to hate it.
Colorblind, walking down the street, just crying.
Raining in Baltimore, baby.
So good.
All right,
Okay,
so
TJ, what's present? Wait,
No,
TJ,
do it.
what's presence for you? Like, do you just feel present all the time?
Okay, so this is actually I may not answer this question with this thought line of thinking, but this particularly Jackie's comments about that presence, like thinking about the body as a secondary center. There's a sense of like when you don't know what you feel, you have to move your body to get those things in order. And most of the rest of the time, your instinct automatically reacting to your feelings. Like that's how we talk about like the repressed center. It's like twos are primarily experiencing the heart center, and the body is a secondary center, means that you have feelings, and then you react to them. Like it's a reaction to feelings. There's a doing related to feel that comes from the feeling space. And so when you can't get those feelings in order, when there isn't an instinctive like this is the thing that I need to do with this, you have to use the body to get those things in order. But for sixes who are, let's say body is also a quote-unquote secondary center, that experience is very, very different because for 3, 6s, and 9s, our quote-unquote secondary center is not the same kind of relationship as everyone else. So it's not a direct, like, get into my body so that I can get my primary back on track. Does that all feel like it makes... Yeah, that's fine. Bring the skepticism. I want it.
No, I think it makes sense. Like what my 3 centers, like I have different centers that are primary, secondary, and repressed, and 3, 6, and 9 don't have that. And so for me, it's a little different to be able to use one to access the other, and in fact necessary if I want to. And it's sort of, but then my primary is also my repressed, so I have to use what to access which, and then so I think that it's a little different for 3, 6, and 9. I do think it's cut and dry with the not cut and dry in that it's simple, but it's
Yeah. So I'm thinking about like what are my flow states? Like what are the times where I get into that space where it's and they're like really busy shifts at the coffee shop. But particularly when there's also other people around me who we have a good physical energy together, and like the people that we're interacting, when everything is shalom, I enter into a flow state, and like in the coffee shop, that doesn't happen when it's slow.
Totally.
So peace there is not the desire. There's an energy that comes from like actively doing something. I also think in particular about when I teach, when I get up in front of a crowd and speak, be it sermons or weekends of seminars or whatever, I have a visceral, physical, like I get sick for 2 weeks beforehand because I feel like I'm gonna die. I go through bottles and bottles of Pepto-Bismol, like. But the second I start talking, all of that goes away, and I enter into a flow state. And that flow state can be interrupted by me getting off track of what I'm actually doing. So that's why I usually have to write out whatever I'm saying and read from a script. There's a sense of using my body, but not being aware of it consciously, that I think that is part of what that flow state is for me. So it's still a not a necessarily like primary kind of way. Like Jeff's flow state is about going really fast down a hill on 2 flat sticks. Like the physical experience is not the most important thing of flow state. And I think that has to do with the 3, 6, 9, like because it's primary but also repressed. There's a different kind of balance to our centers.
Is there then, and I don't think that it's so literal, right? But is there some kind of formula then for, just since we're on the body center, for 9s who lead with their body, repress their body, and still have access to the other centers, right? What is the sort of formula? Like, what do I push into to get into doing, to like, you know, where it breaks off in after the first half where you take in the world? What would be the, right? If I was talking to a 2, I would say, move your legs, start with that. How, like, what does that prescription look like for a 9 to get into the fullness of their body, balance the other centers? Like, what acts as the secondary in those moments?
Can I pitch an idea on this? Sometimes oftentimes in my language, it's you need to get into your heart. You need to get into your head. You need to get into your body. Another way to do this is just to shut down your other 2 centers and say, I'm not feeling or thinking right now, and therefore this is the only other center available to you. So
how do we know then? How does the 9 then know what is productive doing without the balance?
The intention is a big part of it. So
then I guess then there must be an intention behind the doing, and not just, I don't feel like feeling today, I don't feel like thinking about it today, right? Because I think that there is something there, but the line to productive and unproductive is so thick, that veil is so thin for 9s.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
We talked a lot about, we have talked a lot about habits, and I think like doing yoga every day, there's 1,000 ways that I can very reasonably convince myself that right now, right this second is not the time for yoga. And I have to shut down the thinking and the feeling and just do it in order to build the habit where I don't try to convince myself not to anymore.
By the way, this is the recommendation commonly stated to 8s, 3s, and 1s about doing. So just in case, like, this isn't picking on 9 saying get out of your heart and head. Like, commonly I hear people say you need to stop. When I stop, what ends up happening is it forces me into spaces of doing emotional work and thinking work because I can't do anything else. And so, like, similarly, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so in this scenario, then, right, what does it look like for a 9 to say, I'm not thinking, I'm not feeling, I am going to do. I'm going to pull back from the way I would have used these centers as a crutch, and I'm going to like, what does that actually look like in real life and not just in theory? For Susie, the random 9 over there.
Yeah. If it's a recommendation that you were looking for, my recommendation is stop thinking about it and just do it. Just stop thinking, stop waiting for a reason, stop looking for reasons not to. Just do it. You know you want to, just do it.
It's very tangible. If you know you need to do something, do it. Yeah.
Start doing it, period. And once you start, it's a lot easier to keep going.
So maybe something like, using the case of Susie doing yoga, she would maybe set a timer the day before.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, you think about it the day before. And then when the alarm goes off, it is not the time to think about it or have a feeling about it. It's the time to go 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yep. Stand
1.
up, go. Yes.
My mat's out. Yeah. But you would have to make the decision ahead of time. It can't be, I'm going to make myself do it now, because that will not work.
Yep.
It has to be, thinking,
Yeah. I'm going to build a habit of doing yoga every morning. No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
That's only going to come from actually just doing it.
It's easier
Which has to be decided prior to the event.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think for like 2s, 9s, 7s, mostly 9s and 7s, like, it's easier to do yourself into a new way of thinking than to think yourself into a new way of doing.
Yeah.
Not that I think that's
you can
good.
do it.
Yeah. I think, to Jeff, I do think it is really good. I think it's a sticky balance. And I think there has to be some, not red tape, right? Not limitations, not special instructions, but 3, 6, and 9 don't have it as cut and dry as it is for other types. So there has to be something to it. I think that we can. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a good thought.
It's a biohack. Your system is incredibly malleable. Replacing habits is the way to break bad habits. So, deciding who you're going to be, deciding what habits you want most, and you just, when you have to set yourself up for energy at a certain point in time, and then you need to execute. And we talked about this, I think, last time or 2 times ago, about just that requires thinking. It requires doing, and it requires will and passion at some levels. And I don't know, that just at least pings for me in terms of these spaces. And thinking works the same way, like I assume it's the case that Kristin could speak extensively about this, but like sometimes your head goes to these similar spaces of thinking that just do zero value, and in fact thinking about such things are really doing damage to you. And so what are you replacing those with?
I don't know what you're talking about.
But
that's not relatable to me at all.
So yes, this is actually an intervention.
Every thought I've ever had is productive. Thank you.
Let's do this. This is a great example of good stuff on the bite. There's so much work to do here. I'm just constantly aware of the centers. I thought the centers were things to set aside for a long time when doing Enneagram work, and just recently I'm rediscovering, oh crap, this determines everything, doesn't it? Got last words on the body?
That was great. Good job, everybody.
It was good. I think, first of all, if you've got a body, use it if you can. I think to TJ's awesome credit, physical ability and gut instinct can, I think, work at two different levels. And if you are struggling with one, maybe the physicality of it, there are still some beautiful intuitive gifts of the instinctual gifts of the gut center that you can tap into and grow and unleash no matter what your type is. So there are gifts of the body center, the gut center for all of us.
There's an intelligence available
Yeah.
that we either can utilize or we can
Yes.
not. To be a
Ignore
healthy
to our
person, we
detriment.
ought. Yeah, exactly. We ought learn to listen to the body.
Bang. For folks wanting to get more into the centers, you can pick up TJ and I's book. The first third is on the primary centers and the underlying feelings. And I just did a long interview with Tyler Zack on his upcoming Enneagram Summit on this, which should be released this summer. If you want to do more work here, but that's what I got. Hey, friends.
Hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.